Welcome to Steve Allen's Comedy Room, where funny people gather just for laughs. Master of television comedy, Sid Caesar. Nightclub stars, Shecky, Greene. Political philosopher, Mort, Sahl. Clever young ad-lib specialist, Maher. The Terry Gibbs Sextet. And now, your host, Steve Allen.
Thanks, Jim. Thank you. Well, so here we are again with a show called Comedy Room. The premise is very simple. If you get 4 or 5 marvelously funny comedians together and give them a full 60 minutes and just let them talk about comedy, well, probably... Sorry, I dozed off right in the middle of my own idea there. All programs of this general sort, it somehow has been decided, possibly by me many years ago, should have a sidekick. On the old original Tonight Show, I had Gene Rayburn as my sidekick, and Johnny has Ed McMahon. Many TV hosts have had sidekicks, and we have a wonderful sidekick at this time, ladies and gentlemen, a comedian from England. We thought it would be interesting to get the British point of view to what's funny, because there are so many wonderfully funny English people. Welcome, Mr. Joe Baker. Here he is. Hi, Joe. Nice to have you with us. Yes, who are you waving at, Joe? We're not seen in London.
No, but there's a man from London here.
Oh, really?
From Twickenham.
Twickenham.
Aren't you, sir? Out there, yes. Will you give me a ride home?
Well, anyway, Joe, since you are my sidekick, if I may, I'm just going to go, just a very quick thing. And here we go. Ah, Frank. You'll get another chance tomorrow. Anyway, I always pick my sidekicks on the side on the first show. It's a good luck thing. Not too much luck for you, but for me. Anyway, today we have a room full of comedy giants. As for our first 2 guests, although they made their mark in 2 different comedy media, there's a similarity in some of their work. Sid Caesar, it has been said, by me, come to think of it, is to the history of television comedy what Charles Chaplin was to film comedy. Seriously, in a class by himself. Welcome, Mr. Sid Caesar. Well, Sid, I realize we're 200 yards apart.
Intimate show, intimate.
So that's your room. We're going to be working over here for the whole
visit
show.
you once in a while. We'll talk, you know.
Okay. A man will be by with drinks and some
Yeah, I
feminine...
need water. Tell him to bring water.
Okay, fine.
It's a long way out here.
Young again, bring water!
It was
I
swollen
always
and it stunk, but of all the drinks I've drunk...
I don't remember that one.
Don't you know Kipling? Do you like Kipling? I don't know. I've never kippled as the answer, dummy. Anyway, Shecky Greene, ladies and gentlemen, I put it to you. Shecky Greene began his career in Chicago 35 years ago, and he's going to end it tonight. No, in time he became a superstar in Las Vegas. In Reno, But seriously, in Vegas, a habit developed that any entertainer, any of us appearing in town, would always go to see Shecky's act, with very good reason. He's the champ at that. Welcome, Mr. Shecky Greene.
You know, you're not wrong about Reno. You know that.
And I was joking.
Never did make it in Reno.
Are you serious?
Nope.
You're not serious.
One of the reasons why is I never played Reno. Maybe
I have never told you guys this in tandem. I don't know if you've ever been in tandem before.
I was once in tandem.
Yeah.
I was in tandem in England.
I was in Tandem, New Jersey.
Yeah. Okay. You know, an interesting thing,
Don't get excited, don't get excited.
Now, will those of you take a close-up of Shecky again, please, and do that again.
Wonderful. People don't know that.
Now, people over 50 in the audience are doubled up laughing. and 17-year-old people are saying, why is that funny? You were imitating, I mean, you know that, a man named Hugh Herbert, a wonderful character comedian. See the audience go, yeah.
Now you know.
Now you know. But the kids don't know from Hugh Herbert, do they?
No, it's a strange thing about it. There's a lot of impressions that I do, even in my act, and these people are dead now. And little by little, my act is dying off.
Yes. As a matter of fact, we were going to announce this till later in the show, but all of us on this program passed away some time ago. But due to tape, this is why we preserved ourselves.
Wait, I'll give you another one. I'll bet nobody knows.
All right, who?
Okay, just see if you can guess who. It was a little Russian woman. She used to be in all the Wolfman pictures.
I know who.
I would like very much for you to... That's right, Maria Ospenskaya. My son, there is something I was never going to tell you. When you were 3 years old, you were bitten by the werewolf. That doesn't bother me, but don't come in the house. There is wolf things all over the furniture.
No, that. Now then.
I said, wolf things.
That's true. What could be? What could be more?
Wolf can have a lot of things. Right?
Wolf hairs all over the furniture. Wolf hairs.
A wolf nose, a wolf bane. A wolf move.
What I started to tell you, these many seconds ago, is that you two, now come on, now sit up straight. You two jerks, if I may say so, happen to be, in my opinion, and why do I have my hands at my own throat when I say this, two of the funniest men in the world.
Drop the mic. Drop the mic.
I got to tell you about Sid and I belong to the same gymnasium. We go to a place
Gymnasium?
called Gymnasium.
Yes.
Isn't that it?
I tidy up as we go along.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And that's, and you got Mort Sahl coming out later on with bigger words.
Yeah.
And I get Reader's Digest every month. I learn, 20 words a month. This month I've learned words like maudlin, innocuous, inane, but it's very hard to sneak in a conversation. People say, hi, Sheck, how do you feel? I'm kind of maudlin, innocuous, inane. You're kind of an idiot, too, aren't you, kid? I don't know, we didn't have that word. We go to the same gym, he and I.
I must say, for your age, whatever it might be, you both look terrific. You look terrific for any age.
But let me tell you, we both do the same exercise. Now, you button your coat. I just want to show you. We both work out. Go ahead. Look how nice and easy. I want to show you what the situation with me. Now, some people can exercise and some people can't.
Well, you exercise in the wrong area.
What
This
West
is your
Hollywood.
exercise. He eats
Oh, he eats too much.
While I'm exercising, I do that.
While he's exercising. When he stops exercising, then he goes with both hands.
His bicep from bringing up the food is very strong. Yes. If you'll...
But he is in such shape. I cannot tell you.
Oh, yeah.
I got myself in shape.
Then why is my index finger up in the air?
I don't know.
Jan Murray told me a story one time that as you and Jan, and apparently some others, were coming out of a studio in New York, a man on the sidewalk said something, a terrible thing to say, I'll just put it that way, and that you actually grabbed the man by his jacket and held him up in the air against the wall for a few moments and thought it over. Is that a true story?
Yes.
Then I'll be running along. Because I'm going to be very mean to you tonight. I don't want to get lifted up in the air.
No. I stopped all that. I really did because it doesn't pay off. It's no good. I mean, I've stopped everything. I've turned my whole life around.
Really?
190 degrees, not 180.
No. All right.
No, that's 180.
I'm sorry. I was turned the wrong way.
I had a reputation of being a hitter also, and I never was. I never had. I
But
could be.
you have been in fights.
Yes.
Yes.
Just matter of fact, just before I got on, it says, sure. I'll tell you the truth. I'll be all right.
I was told that you once got in a fight with one of the Fischetti brothers. Is this a true story?
Yeah, because he's not around anymore, so I can tell the story. Yes,
Yeah.
really.
He was a Chicago Mafia hoodlum, right?
Well, is it all right to say that?
I just did.
Oh, good. Both of us coming from Chicago, we can say that. Sure.
Certainly.
But it was when I was working with Frank Sinatra. Excuse me. And Frank, don't take that personally. I was testing the carpet. It's nice and soft. Matter of fact, Frank Sinatra once saved my life.
How was that?
5 guys were beating me up outside of the hotel, and I heard Frank say, "That's enough." No, But I was walking into the hotel at the Fontainebleau in Miami Beach, Florida.
You were walking into the hotel when the fountain blew?
In the Fontainebleau
When the Fontainebleau, then I was walking in the, and I couldn't, it didn't, will you please translate?
Aber andere Fisch wird verdreht in the Fontainebleau.
Why didn't he say so?
I didn't know what color it was anyway, you know.
Ja, was hat da in mir dabei?
So now I was walking in there, and there was 5 guys that grabbed me, and Fischetti was one of the guys that grabbed me, you know, and they were tattooing my head with a blackjack.
Seriously?
Seriously.
Yeah.
And because I was much better looking than this before. And but I still got the dimple. You see the dimple?
Yeah.
I used to have an aunt come on every Sunday and say, how's the mother, how's the father? I had a midget uncle with the same habit. He was bad. Anyway, I got in trouble. Out! Anyway, I walked in, and these 5 guys actually grabbed me, and they started beating me up and everything else. And I finally broke loose, and I got to Fischetti, you know, and I split his nose and his eye and everything. Mm-hmm. And after the thing was over, he said, I want to talk to you. I really mean this. And also said, don't tell the guys in Chicago about this. You know what I mean? I beg you, don't tell the guys in Chicago. I don't know who the heck he was talking about. The guys in Chicago. I said, no, I won't tell the guys in Chicago about this. No. He's okay. We're pals again. And then we hugged, we embraced, and everything else. And that was it.
So we've established that you two gentlemen are physically formidable characters. But that's all behind you.
No, we're going to try it right now. I've got one left. I got to win it.
Anyway, that's behind you say, Sid.
Yes, I'm concentrating on comedy now.
Oh, yes.
And I became a saint. I go with Russian. I don't defect. I want Russian direct.
You guys both do dialect comedy. When did you start? That has to start in childhood. You hear it in your neighborhood, right?
Right, yeah. I was I was a musician when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And I used to play with 3 Italians and 2 Jews.
In the same band?
Same band.
I see.
It was a 5-piece band, and it was Mike Cipicello, Tony Cacciatore, and Al DeFeo.
Chicken Cacciatore?
No, Tony Cacciatore.
I see.
And I used to go over their house, you know, for
Chicken Cacciatore?
No, the first, on Sunday. We have Sunday dinner. It starts at 3:30. Mm-hmm. And the old man used to sit there. Cosa ho fatto non piace, lo fumo gonfiello, non potuto mangiare. Che te lo solo viene per mangiare? Quando lo solo mi malana e me lo do tutti per mangiare. Che te la fare? Quando lo solo viene per la mani solo fammi. All right, we eat now. Yeah. That was a nice of food. When they put food on the table when I was a kid, you know, you ate it.
Yeah.
And then that was gone, and they put another plate on.
And this is, you heard this and you picked it up, huh?
Yeah, well, I heard that, but I'm talking about the food.
We don't care about the food.
All right. So I used to listen to all these dialects. Well, my father had a restaurant in Yonkers, New York.
Your father ran a restaurant?
No, he owned the restaurant.
He owned a restaurant?
He owned the restaurant for 60 years.
60?
60 years.
How old was he at the time?
He must have been in his...
You want me to do what I did to Fischetti? You want me to get him? I mean, anytime you need me, kid. Questa bella scionda a casa, ma la puta facendo a casa tua. E remalo dove, non si chiama.
I'll tell you, we will set matters Italian aside for just a momento.
Un momento.
Yes, a little memento. Because your classic dialect that most of your television viewers know you for and love you for is the famous German professor with the black hat and the frock coat and all that stuff. We happen to have a little clip of that. And if I may, we're going to run it now. It's Carl Reiner interviewing the inquiring reporter. And to me, no matter what you ever said in response to his questions, I was always on the floor. I never laughed. I just got down on the floor. I looked up like this and said, that guy's terrific. Okay, Terry, roll the German professor.
One time I had the most wonderful time in my whole life. I never had fun. It was the time I spoke with this mermaid. It was wonderful.
A mermaid, Professor?
Yes, she was gorgeous. I'll tell you, and she was intelligent and bright.
You imagine you actually saw a mermaid?
Who's imagining? Well, I said I saw a mermaid.
Well, we all know, Professor, that...
We all know mermaids.
Legendary and mythical, we all know that. The sailors have conjured up this myth.
Look, I told you I saw a mermaid, and that's it.
Well, I don't like to dispute you, but...
You want to step outside. Don't fool around now, you understand?
I think that mermaids are probably just legendary. I never...
You know what I'm going to do with you? I'm going to show you up. You want to see a picture? You want to see a picture?
Well,
I'll show you a picture, all right?
I don't believe that.
I'll show you a picture. Right away. And you'll be embarrassed, boy. Boy, will you be embarrassed.
You don't have to. Don't
Don't worry about it. Boy, will you be embarrassed.
Maybe you left it in your other suit, Professor.
What other suit? This is it, kid. Boy, you're going to be embarrassed right away. I'll show you a picture. Right, if somebody's going to be embarrassed right away. Here, right here. There, how's that?
Well, that's a picture of you, Professor. But where's the mermaid?
The mermaid snapped the picture. Hey, boy. I don't know about you, but for me it's true.
Professor, now
I'm not one of those scuffs.
Professor, there's a question I'd like to ask you. Now the ichthyologists claim, and I read this in a book lately, the ichthyologists claim that in all the aquamarinal life, both substratana and substratina, from the plankton to the vertebrae, there is a marked comparison between the mobility and gill structure of all self-propelled crustacea. Now, is this basically true, Professor?
I like that. I put on two different pairs of shoes.
Incidentally, it's obviously a foolhardy exercise to try to cover the entire lives and careers of four of America's funniest men in 60 minutes. For those of you who want to know more about Sid Caesar, and who doesn't, he's written a fascinating book called Where Have I Been? Sounds like a funny title, funny picture, but it's quite a remarkable book about the good news and the bad news of being a comedian, so to speak. Fascinating book. Now, our next guest does not use accents or physical comedy. He works in an entirely different way, to social, political commentary, political humor. His props consist of a newspaper, and his wardrobe consists of a sweater. Also some pants and shoes, so it shouldn't be a total loss. Welcome to our comedy room, a fellow that's been called the thinking man's comedian, Mort Sahl. Great to see you, partner.
Every 30 years.
Yeah. Mort, you and Shecky started out in Chicago in the early 1950s, became big. We're just about the same time.
1954.
You remember your first appearance with us on the Old Tonight Show?
Yeah, very well. There were no laughs through the entire monologue.
Really?
The audience started to laugh at the end.
No kidding.
They didn't laugh at the beginning. They hadn't heard the strange face with strange ideas in a strange dialect.
Yeah, new kind of comedy.
That. Yeah, and I was working at a club called the Blue Angel with Jonathan Winters, and we knew you'd put on anybody.
Anybody who was funny.
And we came over there, and there were always a lot of newer guys like ourselves in comedy, and a lot of jazz guys on the show too.
Yeah.
And but the jokes that nobody was laughing at were jokes like.
Can you remember the material now?
Oh yeah. Still using the material.
Give us some of the lines.
It's a Reagan now. No, one of the jokes was, it was during the Eisenhower administration, and the Cold War was on. One of the jokes was, every time the Russians throw an American in jail, Nixon throws an American in jail to show them they can't get away with it. There was no left, right?
That's a great joke.
Then it was, they took away Dr. Oppenheimer's Q clearance to work on the H-bomb.
Right.
And the FBI arrives at the University of California in his lab, and they say to him, Dr. Oppenheimer, turning your brain, you're through. Nobody laughed. And it was like that. It was like that. It was highly politicized for its time, and nobody was laughing.
It's interesting. We can see now that those are not just okay jokes; they're superior jokes. But I think the reason, I'd forgotten, I'll take your word for it, that you didn't get many laughs. The reason often is that whether it's a musician, a tap dancer, a painter, a sculptor, a comedian, if you're doing something radically new, the people just take a while to understand what you're doing before they can say that's good painting or good comedy or whatever.
Well, how true it is. Mort and I were in Chicago at the same time. I was working the Chez Prix with Ann Southern. It was my first really big engagement. And Mort was working a place called the Black Orchid. And the guy that owned the club, Al Greenfield, wanted to fire him because he wouldn't put on a suit.
Because Mort wouldn't wear a suit?
He wouldn't wear a suit. Now, at that time, as soon as you worked in a nightclub, you had to wear a tuxedo. That was it. That's what they thought. They didn't know about the material or anything, these guys. Hey, you got to get a suit, you know what I mean?
I couldn't come into the club. I had to go out in the street through the kitchen.
Seriously?
And come to the stage. Couldn't go through the club.
I think he did fire you, though, didn't he?
Yeah, he fired me. I didn't finish the engagement. And it was my first trip away from the Hungry Eye. And Shecky kind of adopted me.
Ah.
And he took me to Chez Paris to get me to be well known on the Jack Eigen show. And I walked in and he used to have a disc jockey there in the lounge of the club with this busty blonde next to him. And people would call in questions to this maven. And as Shecky and I walked in, this girl was there and she said, Jack, a listener wants to know what you think of Joseph Stalin. And Jack said, Stalin knows what I think of him. So that's kind of the way it went.
You know, that is where Mike Nichols and Elaine May got the idea for one of their early classics, the, quote, dumb, end quote. I'm not putting Eichen down personally, but that's what they thought. The kind of, jerky disc jockey and the woman who's not too bright helping him out. One of their early great bits.
He turned to me, Eigen, and Shecky was there, holding me up, moral support. And Eigen said to me, he said, you nonconformists are not going to turn our business upside down. I said, who are the others? And he said, Marlon Brando with his undershirt, 54. And he said, even if you're successful, and I doubt it, you're not going to have any friends. So I said, Albert Einstein said that I shall live in that solitude, which is painful adolescence, but delicious in maturity. And Jack Eigen said, yeah? Well, Sophie Tucker said life is nothing without friends. We'd each appeal to a higher authority.
Right.
Let's go home.
Jeez, that's wild. Well, Sophie Tucker said, that's beautiful. Yes, Ed.
The first nightclub I ever worked, I was never in a nightclub in my life. The first one I was in was the Copacabana, which I worked. And I knew nothing about nightclubs. And Jack Eigen, as you said, was had the broadcast. And I was nervous, because I was radio. And I sat down, and Charles Lawton was coming in, and he said, Jack Eigen said, hey, Charlie, why don't you come over here? Real Charles Lawton. Charlie, why don't you come over here? Join us. Good. And Charles Lawton sat down and sat right next to me and said, why don't you call me Chucky?
That's great. We have little bits of tape and film from time to time because we told the guys they didn't have to perform. They can if they want to, but they can just relax too. But Shecky, we looked through our old tape files and found something that, to the best of my recollection, I wrote about 1961, and you and I did it. At the time, there was a guy, remember Mort, a guy named Steve Nagy, who used to describe what was happening in bowling matches, and he was always whispering. Yeah. He didn't want to disturb the bowlers. He saw saying, this is Steve Nagy. He now has his index finger in the wrong hole, and consequently, when he lets the ball go, he's going to hurt himself, or whatever. And I used to wonder, who's this jerk that was whispering? So anyway, I did a kind of a Steve Nagy voice because the people at big golf tournaments, they do the same thing. The $1 million riding on one putt.
And there's a guy talking like this.
There's a guy talking like this right behind you. So do we have the cassette? Okay, anyway, this is Shecky playing the golfer, and I'm doing the voice announcer who's talking a little too loud on the green at a crucial moment. Let's see how it turns out.
We're at the, quiet please, we're at the 18th green at the Desert Lodge Country Club. Excitement's at its peak here in this $100,000 tournament. I'm speaking as quietly as I can. The man you see having just approached the green right now is the professional golf's leading money winner, Arnold Duffer, ladies and gentlemen. He's about to attempt a putt. Short putt means $50,000 in first prize money for Arnold. His opponent's ball, as you can see, is only a few inches from the cup. Should Arnold miss his putt, Arnold's opponent will win for sure. But as everyone knows, Arnold Duffer is always calm, never gets rattled. Arnold is now looking over the putt. Putt looks quite easy, but what Arnold doesn't know is there's a strong wind coming in from the east. Yes, Arnold has the putter now in his left hand. He's about to bring his right hand back in the shaft, his favorite grip. But for a shot like this, most pros put the hands a little lower on the club. And this is, that's right. Some even recommend putting cross-handed with the left hand below the right hand, tapping the ball with a short backhand stroke. And this is Steve Nagy, just in from the bowling alley, telling you that Arnold now has his feet a little closer together. Just speaking to some of the pros in the locker room, they feel a wider stance is better. Feet are too close together, in the opinion of some of the bystanders here this afternoon. And some would even recommend a little bit wider, a little bit farther apart. Some people feel that a cross-legged position with the back to the cup gives a certain kind of control, blocks the wind from that particular direction, and enables the man to concentrate, hitting the ball under his armpit right into the cup in a short distance. Arnold is ready to putt now. Remember, if he misses this putt, ladies and gentlemen, his opponent will win the tournament for certain. Be very quiet, please. That's it, Arnold. He's all set now. Putt it nice and hard, Arnold. And here he goes. Here comes his lucky opponent. It looks now as if he is sure to win the $150,000.
You mean to tell me I was funny once?
I hardly remember that. Do you?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I can hardly remember it. I mean, I see us and maybe some little glimmer, but basically I don't recall that. Weird. Mort, to jump back to you, Woody Allen, certainly a high authority on the subject of funniness, he has said of you that you restructured the joke as we know it. Do you know exactly what he meant by that?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. He took a lot of nutrition from, spiritually, from the idea that you could go your own way and you could still work. He used to come and watch the show. He very generously says in a book by Eric Lax, his biography, that I changed his life. Recently, I was in New York working, and he came in to see the show, and he was very depressed.
Really?
So he had a lot of anxiety. He's in this endless therapy, and he felt that the audience was fickle, and that a lot of his audience had evaporated as he became a more serious filmmaker. They'd run off with Dudley Moore. And I said, geez, is there anything I can do? You know, it's a shame that success is so hollow. And he said, could you change my life back? You know, so of course I don't have that power. No one does. Yeah.
Another reason for his early announced public appreciation of you has occurred to me. I remember when you first showed up, first of all, I loved you and I loved your humor. That's why every time you were in town, I was honored to have you on the show, needless to say. But it also struck me that you were, in the context of what, as Shecky was saying earlier, comedians had traditionally been, like Bob Hope, Milton Berle, Lou Holtz, guys with tuxedos and kind of an authoritative vaudeville manner. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Wonderful to be here. And I just want to say, you know, that old-fashioned comedy approach, you were, in that context, quote, unprofessional. You were also brilliant, but you know what I mean by that. You didn't seem like
quite so.
You didn't seem like a performer. You were a great performer, but because it was new, it seemed unprofessional. And that's the thing that first struck me when Woody was new in the business, and he tells this about himself. The first few appearances he made, he got no laughs because he, too, seemed like no performer at all. And finally, they realized what a brilliant performer he was.
Well, Woody used to write...
For you?
Yes.
Woody Allen.
And Woody wrote, I worked with Woody mostly with Larry Gelbart. And I never saw a shyer guy, because when I never knew him before, and Larry brought him in, Larry Gelbart, and we sat and he said, hello, how are you? And he was very, very shy. Until I said, don't you go out with girls and do things and talk about that, you know? He said, yeah, but I don't talk about girls. I said, well, make yourself, that you're a great lover. Play against it. And that was it.
Mort, you've done material on, I think, 6 or 7 American presidents. Is there any one of them that was your easiest target?
Yeah, I suppose Nixon. You can't lay a glove on Reagan. It's very difficult. And he has his own humor. He has that kind of, it's sort of commercial humor. It's sort of Holiday Inn.
Kind of country club humor.
After dinner.
Yeah.
His humor, I'll give you an example of his humor instead of being so clinical. I was at the White House.
Gee, I write for Reagan, too. I'm sorry to hear.
And he said to me, asked me when I got the invitation to the White House, and I said, 3 weeks before I got there, and he said to me, do you think a letter should take 3 weeks to cross America? He said, what do you think of the post office? So I said, are you going to fire everybody in the Postal Service? And he said to me, no, I'm going to keep them on, but I'm going to mail them their checks. That's just
It's a funny line. Yeah. You also were, unlike many of the rest of us who have worked in traditional nightclubs or radio and TV and so forth for the most part, you've also worked a lot in colleges. Have college audiences changed over the last 20 years or so?
I don't know. I don't go that much anymore, but they're, I suppose until they start drafting them and sending them to El Salvador, they're all going to be content to be doctors, lawyers, and pharmacists? I don't know where the joke is there, but that's I think it's latent virtue. People are only as good as they have to be.
Ah.
And there's nowhere for them, I don't know, I just think the audience now is sharper than the comedians. I think the humor is in folklore. The audience is very sharp. The audience, you say, the funny joke is going around about Pia Zadora. I never heard from a comedian.
Yeah. That's a whole new subject. Who is it that creates, who writes, makes up the funny stories that we hear all day? I don't mean the one-liners or the crazy lines we do in sketches, but the ones about, 3 Armenians got off a streetcar and St. Peter said...
jokes.
Yeah. Nobody's ever known who creates them. No. I've asked every comedy writer in the business, have you personally ever written the one about a rabbi, a priest, and a Jew went to heaven and St. Peter said... They all said, no, never anything like it. And yet we hear hundreds of them every year. Weird.
You hear them every week.
Yeah.
They keep on coming.
Sure.
Did you hear the Pia Zadora joke?
Which one was that, Joe?
And she wanted to be a real actress. So her old man, who's got a few bob, a few bucks, he said, what would you like to do? So I want to do a straight play. And he said, what? She said, well, I've read this book. It's called The Diary of Anne Frank.
Yeah.
So he said, right, we'll get a theatre. So he bought the theatre. Trillions, he bought it, got the best director. Away they went. They went down there, and she went on for the opening night. She was terrible. Really, apparently, supposedly...
In the story?
Yeah, in the story. It's a joke, of course, Ginsberg. And she went on over the first half, and then the part where the stormtroopers come in, the audience, somebody at the back shouted out, she's in the attic!
That's the story. That's the story. Mort, we mentioned earlier that in contrast to Shecky and Sid Caesar,
bit late,
or Frank Capp, our drummer, you don't do dialects, you don't do impressions, but we have tangible evidence, which is the best kind, I suppose, that you once did an impression of a performer, and we found this out in consulting our computerized records the other day. And the guys, Terry has racked up in the booth a thing from one of our old shows, the old Sunday night comedy series, of you working, in a sense, as an impressionist. And it's interesting, as you guys know, sometimes you go for voices. Rich Little does very precise voices, Frank Gorshin. But in Mort's case, he went for the way the target of his physical satire dressed, things about his tie, his wardrobe, and so forth. Anyway, if we have that film, let's show Mort in his one... instance as an impression.
And here he is, Steve Allen.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening, and welcome to another show for Plymouth. But first, I'd like to recommend this book to you. You can't be a better person while watching this show. I just read this on the way here from my dressing room, and I think every American should read this book. It's called Is Your Fallout Shelter Termite Proof? Enjoy that? Now I think we should get the show started here with a little music by one of my favorite composers, me. I have some music here. I'd like to play a number from my 958th record album, which is called Steve Allen's 958th record album. Feeling basically that although I may never sell 1 million records, I may make 1 million records. So I think here's the song, just as I recorded it. And while I'm listening to my music here, there's a little music. Could I have my... There we are. Why don't you listen to this message from Steve Hansen?
We rehearsed that when you were out of the studio. We waited until you vanished, and so you'd subsidize your own overthrow.
It was actually very, very apt. You don't realize what mannerisms you have until somebody does you in that sense. You know? We have another guest we're bringing out now to add to our group. We had the pleasure of working with Bill Maher on the other 6 shows called Music Room, which we've done for the Disney Channel folks. And he's doing very well in the business. He's in the new young comedian category. He is new, he is young, and he's certainly a comedian, very funny man. On The Tonight Show, he was recently singled out on the anniversary show as one of the 3 brightest new comics in the business. Welcome once again our friend Bill Maher. Here he is.
Thank you very much. What a night. Or cable, maybe what a day. How are... You never know anymore. How are you? You pretty good? I should tell you... I should tell you a little about myself. I'm not as renowned as these colleagues here. I am not originally from California. I'm from Earth. And came out here to apply my trade. I like it out here. It's a little trendy, don't you think? Women always here tell me, you never try anything new. I always get that you never do anything new here, which is true. I don't. I like meatloaf. I don't have to try... I had sushi they dragged. Did you ever have that raw fish? Good if you like bait. I said to the waiter, this isn't the food we eat, is it? I said, this is food to get other food with. Here in America, we don't eat the first slimy thing that crawls up on our plate. Worst cooking? Well, actually, my mother's cooking was pretty bad. Jewish cooking, my mother's Jewish, can be kind of... matzah, did you ever have that? Flat pieces of cardboard? And, of course, the Jewish ends everything tradition. I say, Ma, why do we eat like this? She said, tradition. This is the way we ate when the Egyptians were chasing us. I said, it's been 5,000 years. Let the bread rise, for crying out loud. I don't see the pharaoh on our tail here. Cockroaches in our kitchen. We're going, no, I'm going to grab something on the way home. We adopted a refugee family. They went, no, I'm good. I had something last year. I hate to feel bloated. I kid my mother and father. My mother is Jewish. My father is Catholic. I come from what they call a mixed marriage. That's the truth. I was raised Catholic formally, with the Jewish mind. It's true. For example, we used to go into confession, and I would bring a lawyer in with me. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. I think you know Mr. Cohen. I kid my parents. No, they are actually ethnic. They're immigrants to this country, and it has always been my one wish to make enough money to someday send them back behind the Iron Curtain. Call me sentimental, if you will. No, they live in New Jersey now. They came over to New York, and then like a lot of parents in my parents' generation did, they moved to the suburbs. For us, the kids, they tell you, to make your life easier. And then during my life, do nothing but give me grief for having an easy life. I said, Dad, I would have gone to Vietnam, but I had Little League. That mentality, you know, they got through the Depression, God bless them for that, but did we have to always eat everything? We could waste no food. My father would walk into the kitchen, he'd go, oh, you know, the black banana's the best one. I'd go, okay, you eat it. Here's the straw, it's a little mushy. There's always the Depression, you know, whenever we'd complain, he'd go, yeah, the Depression. And I was a kid, I didn't know what he was talking about. I was 5 years old. He'd go, you know, in the 30s, the whole country was in a depression. And I'd think, wow. The whole country staying in bed watching TV all day. Picture of other countries coming by to cheer us up. I don't know. Shaming us out of it. What are you depressed about? You're an attractive country. You're well-liked around the world. I love that joke. That's the great thing about America. People can differ. Government, of course, doesn't use that term now. They use depression, that's out. They use recession, because it sounds better. It sounds like recess. People aren't out of work, they're just playing kickball. I kid former President Reagan, and I think if he were alive today, that he'd be doing a heck of a job. Well, he's alive. I don't trust George Bush on that score, though. It's got to be tempting to be a heartbeat away from a man that old. You know? I wouldn't be surprised if Bush goes around the White House trying to scare him. I voted for John Anderson last time out, who I see is now making keys in Woolworths. So that's where new ideas will get you, ladies and gentlemen. But at least this is America where we have the choice. Isn't that right? We decide which clowns run the circus over here, and I can see you're very excited about it. That's what cable TV is. You know, you have a choice now. Nice to be on a family entertainment network here. You know, there's a lot of stations now, cable stations, that offer nothing but smut all the time. And I'll tell you, these stations that do that, they don't make us better people. They don't increase our knowledge of humanity, and they don't come in clearly enough where I live. I have to go to a bar to see it. And you know how tough it is. Do you know why men go to bars? You know why mating takes place in bars? It is because of the alcohol. Because a man has to get a woman close to a state of unconsciousness before what he says even begins to make sense. That's why before the invention of alcohol, primitive men had to actually club women over the head. The guy would go into a singles cave, what they had, and he would literally hit on a woman. That's where the phrase to hit on came from. He would actually pick her up. That's why they called it a club to begin with. But enough of that. Very, thank you. The master of segues. It's true, it's very difficult for men, you know, because it's a wealthy country. Just to impress a girl, you got to have nice clothes, a job helps, cars, you know. The secret, man, is to go to one of your poorer countries. Go to Angola. You can impress a girl with things like, yeah, I got shoes. Not easy being single, or being married, or having kids, or any of it. Now, I always think about naming kids, because I never liked my name. And there's that old joke about the Chinese, I'm sure they all know it, about they dropped silverware to name the kids. Ping, Ching, Wang, remember that old joke? Apparently still a good joke. I always think about, you ever meet Swedish people? They have very guttural names. Sven! You ever meet them very, you know, the Swedish Nordic types? Which I find out what it is. It's a cultural thing. It's Swedish mothers give the name of the child as they're giving birth. It's during the Hola! Bjornborg! That's the name of the child. Sometimes it's an easy birth. Ooskadoo. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it.
Great, Billy.
Thank you.
Very good, Billy. Good one.
Feel like I'm running for something.
That's the toughest thing in the world to do is to stand up there and do that.
Oh, sure. One thing I like about you,
The way I do it is.
Are you really relaxed, or are you just like Jack Benny, who was often nervous but seemed relaxed?
I am Jack Benny.
But you are relaxed, are you?
Yes, I mean, that's what comes, the only thing I'm suited to do.
Sure.
I'm very nervous around the house.
Did working in front of these three giants and Joe Baker, great English comedian, did that make you a little uneasy?
I love new faces, Steve. And
Giants?
Giants, yeah.
Titans of the industry.
Somebody once told me, speaking of nervous performers and those who are not, that Red Skelton, certainly one of the powerful comedians of the century, is so nervous before every performance for the last 60 years that he sometimes tosses his cookie. Are you Sid,
Yeah.
are you nervous before you go on?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, every time. And I remember I used to be very superstitious. I used to knock wood and I'd tear down and hit people and everything. I would make it good. I really was very... I remember the first time I was on Broadway, and we were opening in New Haven, and I had this number, $5 number. Hello, baby, you better get ready and come down and get my studio. Good town, baby, rocket. Zion got $5. It was going to hold my pocket. Real thank you. It goes 8 minutes like that. And I started off and like, hello, baby, you better get ready and come down and get my study. And all of a sudden the cotton came in and went, boy, that, you would try to work that? With cotton. Work with cotton. That's nervous.
As long as I have you rolling, it occurs to me, Terry, this might be an interesting place to rack up that next little piece of videotape of Sid's. We don't have time to show the whole sketch. It's a thing I wrote for you and me to do. I'd wanted for some time to do a takeoff on the 60-minute show, and we don't have time for the whole thing. But Mort, the 60-minute show always has seemed to me a show that is in #1 position because the American people are fascinated at seeing close-ups of capitalists lying. I say this as a capitalist myself. I'm a businessman. Hooray for capital. I'm not putting it down. Yeah. But some capitalists are crooks. Some Catholics are crooks. Some communists are crooks. Every group has its crooks, you know. And Mike Wallace has a way of pinning them right to the wall. So in this, I'm like a Mike Wallace character, and Sid is your typical dishonest whatever. You know, he's got 19 rackets going, and this is something in the middle of the sketch where I'm really trying to pin him to the wall and expose him for the cheat and the fraud and the criminal he is. Let's see what it looked like.
Wait a minute. I will settle this once.
All right, let's settle.
Can you look me straight in the eye and deny these accusations?
Of course. I'll look you straight in the eye.
Straight in the eye?
I deny every accusation you have to make.
Let's check that out right now.
Let's check it out right now.
Okay.
That's right. It's right. Let's check it out. It's right. Let's check it out.
You do the looking. Here's my eyes.
Right.
You, sir, have been involved in syndicate gambling, phony bond deals, stock market manipulations. Look me in the eye. Blackmail, making loans with prurient interest, Manslaughter? Getting nervous, sir?
No, go right ahead.
Been involved with manslaughter, womanslaughter. You were named in a paternity suit by a Lake Tahoe chorus dancer. In 1971, you were arrested for racketeering, for endangering endangered species, for malfeasance in office with malice aforethought and blatant potpourri. That same year, sir, you were fined $27,000 for skimming funds from a nursing home and a skimming home that you ran. Yes, you have been suspected, sir, of income tax evasion, income tax perversion, and drug dealing. Now let's get to the point. What is your explanation of all that, sir?
Does the man have a right to make a decent living? This is America, you know, land of the free, home of the brave. Oh, yes, I am a patriotic man, sir.
You are?
I gave my life for this country.
You did?
Many times. Oh, yes.
Sir,
patriotism, that's what America's all about, isn't it?
Just a moment. It has been said that patriotism is the last refuge of the scoundrel.
And I, sir, am a patriotic scoundrel. I'm a patriotic scoundrel. Patriotic scoundrel. Over there. Yes, sir, I'll say a patriotism. 77 years ago, I was over there. And yes, I bear my soul to America. They can see that I was done it.
Mr. Webster, there is no doubt that you, sir, are an out-and-out criminal who is stealing billions of dollars from innocent people.
I tell you,
now, wait a minute. Before you do anything rash, there's 75 million people, I tell you again.
75 miles?
Yep. What are you doing, sir? I think you pulled your head apart, sir.
That's mine.
You know, there's only one thing wrong with the show. It should be a 6-hour show.
Easy.
1 hour does not
We're
make...
supposed to sit warmed up now.
Yeah, right. Shecky.
What?
You are... Sorry to intrude on your solitude. You have a unique reputation, even among other comedians, much less your many millions of fans, because in addition to having stock routines, which all of us do, and jokes you repeat, you work very loose. You're one of the great ad-libbers. Do you often develop some of your eventually most effective bits out of an ad-lib point of origin?
I think so, yeah. I'm not the type of person to consider the typewriter and make up material. Mm-hmm. And like you mentioned earlier that I worked the lounges in Vegas and everything, that gave me the opportunity to be free form.
Loose.
Yeah, like right now I'm very tight.
Really?
You couldn't tell that.
No, I couldn't
But it's
tell.
all right.
You know, Bill, the old saying, it's a cliche. Instead of saying I laughed heartily, you say I fell down. I fell on the floor. I literally once fell on the floor laughing at you, as you may or may not recall. You were in one of the lounges in Vegas. This was 20 years ago.
Wait, just, you know I'm drowning?
It's on your...
Yes, it'll be... Yeah, go ahead. That DuPont company lied to me. That should have been dry by this time.
You were in one of the lounges, and I was sitting at a chair, at a table, and they had sort of Swedish curved metal things, and I tipped back laughing at you, fell on the floor. You rushed off, jumped off the floor, off the stand, with your mic, and put your hand on my chest. You kept me on the floor for 5 minutes. I was screaming, laughing all that time. I bet you don't even remember that.
No, but I'd like that to happen again.
Just for old time's sake, we have a piano over there, and we sneaked your accompanist into the building. Is there anything you would be so moved to...
I would love to.
Shecky, Greene, and Ashton, ladies and gentlemen.
First of all, I'd like to introduce my conductor who's been with me now. How many years have you been with me?
About 25, Shecky.
25 years. Yep. You're going to get paid yet. This is Herbie Dell, and Herbie... Is that your real name? That's just your American name. You have a Hebrew name.
I certainly do, Shecky.
Tell the people what your Hebrew name is.
My Hebrew name is Chaim.
Chaim. What does that mean, Chaim?
That means life.
That means life?
Yep.
I got a friend of mine doing Chaim in San Quentin right now. He's doing one to Chaim up there. You know, that sometimes with an audience, you get a sense of an audience and you feel out the audience, which I'd like to do. I'd like to go out and really feel out this audience. And you don't know whether people are going to like jokes or routines or what it is. But there's humor all over. Now, Reagan is going to China. And, Reagan, yes. Reagan's coming back from China. And strange thing about it is that the Chinese, besides we've seen jugglers and acrobats and everything else, they have a wonderful sense of humor, the Chinese people. I walked into a Chinese restaurant the other day, a place called Alphonse, right here in California, in Beverly Hills. And the guy says, "Oh, you're Shecky Greene. I see all the time television. You stink." I said, "Why do you say that?" "Because you tell different joke. You never tell Chinese joke. Why you not tell Chinese joke?" I said, "I don't know what Chinese," and he told me a class. And you can tell this to anybody. It's a beautiful story. It's probably one of the greatest stories I've ever heard in my life, even better than Pia Zadora with the Anne Frank story. And this is a story about a Chinese father in Hong Kong that said to his son, "You don't give man that she's a good." And his son says, and the father says, "Did you hear this before? Why are you reacting?" I'll tell you, since you love that so much, let's do something else. When I was growing up, and we used to go on a Saturday matinee to the movies, they always had these movie musicals. These, well, let me show you. We'll paint out the scene. I am walking by an office in Tin Pan Alley. Now, Herbie's inside the office, and I'm walking by. I hear the music. I knock on the door.
Come in.
Hi there.
How you doing?
How are you, Herb?
Fine.
What was that? I heard some music coming.
Oh, I'm writing a song, a new song.
You're writing a new song?
Yeah, but I didn't finish it.
You didn't finish
No,
it?
maybe you could help me on it.
I'm very good at this stuff. Maybe I can help you with this. Let me run over this. Oh, good. I like the feel of that song, Herb.
Thank you, Sheck. Maybe you can help me finish it.
I think I could.
Or try
Let's
it.
try it. Tear a star from out the sky, and the sky feels blue. Tear a petal from a rose, and the rose weeps too. Take your heart away from mine, and mine will surely break. My heart is yours to take, so please keep the flame away. Would you take the wings? I did that right on the corner, too, I'll tell you that. So that they can fly. Would you take the ocean's roar and leave just a sigh? All this my heart won't let you do. All this is all I've asked of you. Don't take...
Sheck,
What?
this is where I didn't finish it. We need the ending here.
What should we do?
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's try socks.
Try that. Sounds good.
Don't take your son.
No, that won't make it.
What about pool?
Try pool.
Pool. Don't take your pool.
No, that won't make it either.
Herb!
What?
Take a look out that window.
Yeah?
You see that neon sign with the word love in it?
Yes, I do.
You could see right through that brick building?
Yeah.
I'm not working with Chaim, I'm working with Clark Kent. Don't take the love from the neon sign.
Thank you. The thing I love about your work, Shecky, is it almost doesn't matter what you do. You know, that was a great bit. You did it brilliantly. But by me, you know what I mean? You can get up and just do anything for an hour, and I love it.
Yeah, but I would like to trade Bill his routine for that routine if you want to.
Bill, you write practically all your own material, don't you?
I have a steel trap mind, Steve. Whatever comes out of someone's trap, I steal, and I hope they don't mind. How about that for you? Because I know you love work.
But isn't it amazing how comedians always talk, like I noticed that Bill was talking about his mother, you know, earlier. We always talk about the wife or the mother and everything, you know?
Yeah.
Because I did a lot of material on my mother. My mother was a a Jewish lady who was a very poor cook. You know, and I said to my mother one day, I said, Ma, why do you make the chicken so greasy? She said, I never make chicken. I just make a pot of grease. I shape it like chicken. And what's funny about this is my mother actually came to, my mother used to come to see me work all the time in Chicago, Mr. Kelly's. And she'd say to me, Chicky, Chikey, Chucky. She didn't know my name. She says, why do you tell people I talk with an accent? I was born in Chicago. I said, because it's funny that way, Ma.
Funny.
She says, I don't like it. I said, Ma, you know the kind of money I make telling people you talk with an accent? She says, what kind of money? And I told her. She's, listen, I want to tell you one other thing.
Sid, why do you think it is that there isn't much dialect humor anymore?
I think people are too sensitive. They really are. They're getting too sensitive about... every minority group has a majority now. I mean, it's, you can't... people are too sensitive. They're losing their sense of humor. They really
we
are.
don't grow up with it.
Absolutely right.
The generation is...
That's right.
I never heard it around my house.
There is just as much dialect spoken in this country now, but now it's Iranian, it's Bahamian.
Yeah.
You don't hear so many Jewish dialects, Irish dialects,
Right.
Italian dialects. It's not the same foreign immigrant.
Well, I think starting now, I couldn't do Haitian. You know, somebody said, you do Haitian dialect, you know? I couldn't. Could you do Haitian?
So, Lemika.
Oh, yes, man.
I got to check on that.
Well, you didn't hear Haitian growing up? Seriously?
No, I really did. Yeah. No, there were not too many Haitians in our neighborhood at that time. we had a neighborhood. You walked in, the guy like in any store was grab a ticket, like we had a delicatessen in our neighborhood, Ashkenaz, and you'd walk in and go, grab a ticket, take a number, I said, okay, I'm number one. It's too late for clothes. Get out of here.
Well, it turns out that we are closed for business, too. We have used up
Well, I don't see why you should do that.
Why should you do that?
Why should you do that,
remember
Steve?
that one?
God love you. It's a wonderful thing to hear you talk. It's the only dialect I do, because I heard it when I was
Well,
growing up.
God bless
Really?
Yes.
Where did you hear
So
it?
it's been a lovely St. Patrick's Day for all of us
It's
here.
nice to be with Mort. Believe me, when I tell you one more game, he would have got his sweater. His letter. His letter, not his sweater. His letter.
Hey, we thank our marvelous five funny men. Joe Baker, thank you for joining us. Joe's with us at every one of the shows. Mort, Sahl, brilliant as always. Thank you so much. Good company. Good company. Yes. Shecky Greene, thank you very much, Sheck. It's always a pleasure. Sid Caesar, the chaplain of television. The chaplain will be holding religious services. And Bill Maher, one of the bright new comedy minds of our time. Thank you all. See you more soon on the Comedy Room.
Well, I know much of that. One more game of better sweater. Let us sweater. Should we do it all together?